Well, I'm impressed that you go into the belly of the beast all the time, known as the United States House of Representatives, and fight that battle. And I will tell you, these spending levels have shocked me. Now, there's not much that shocks me anymore that comes out of Washington, D.C., but we're talking $4 trillion deficits. We already passed a $2 trillion bill. Nancy Pelosi's bringing up a $3 trillion bill. Please tell me you're fighting back against this one, Congressman.
You know what? I think the frustrating part of being in the House right now is that, we watch athletes on TV, we watch entertainers, we watch people of note, and they say, when it comes to the coronavirus, hey, we're in this together and we're going to get through this together because we're in it together. And then you find out that the last bill that we voted on last Friday, which I voted against because of the ridiculousness of it, it was a socialist Christmas tree. They hung everything on that tree they possibly could. Most of it had nothing to do with the coronavirus. But when they say we're all in this, not one minute spent talking with any Republican in the House, not 1 minute giving anybody an opportunity to look at the bill and say, you know what, there's things in here that we just can't digest. We're raising our debt level to a point where, talk about our kids, our grandkids. Oh, hell, I think we're up into our great grandkids and maybe our great great grandkids on a debt that's going to cause this country to capsize, and we will no longer be able to be the best country in the world when it comes to being able to defend freedom and liberty. So that was the bill that was pushed through. It was done without any consultation. It was done only in the Speaker's office. Did not include any Republicans. Did not include Secretary Mnuchin, by the way, who on those first packages, those CARES packages, was part of the team that was determining what was to be spent and how we were going to spend it. I got to tell you, I've never seen money spent the way it's being spent now. When I first got into Congress, we were about 21 trillion in debt, long-term debt. And you know as well as I do, because you were in business, that constant shortage each year, year after year, those deficits each year keep adding up and adding up. Our long-term debt right now is probably the most dangerous thing when it comes to our national security going forward. We are going to be in a horrible situation. And when you look at it, again, because of your background, you just don't throw money at a problem and say, oh, well, we spent a lot of money, should have fixed it. Say, well, did you look at what it was you were spending the money on to see if it had anything to do with fixing it? Because if it didn't, you were in the construction business, right? Measure twice,
Yes,
cut
sir,
once.
sure
You
was.
just don't do stupid things. The old story, you can't shoot yourself in the foot and wonder why you're limping. We're doing that consistently. The pushback, though, is very tough right now. We have some programs that were meant to help people get through this coronavirus. Most of that bill last Friday had nothing to do with it. Just a spend, a liberal dream. Just spend.
Can you explain why the national debt is so dangerous? I think a lot of people they'll hear it. A lot of people have heard it before, but they don't understand what happens when that freight train finally slams into the wall.
Well, I think one of the things we need to do is we need to reduce it down to what it is that people actually experience in their own lives. Whenever your debt load exceeds your ability to pay it back, whenever your debt load reaches a point where lenders look at you and say, we'll take a risk on you, but you're going to pay a much higher percentage of interest than you may be able to withstand. The more we load our debt, the harder it's going to be when we really need to have funding, when we really need to have investors. They're going to walk away from us and leave us in a position where the only payments we'll make, just imagine if you're running your household or your business and the only bill you can pay each month is just the interest on the loans that you have out there. You can never reduce the principal. So that means in my business, I'm an automobile dealer. You're never, ever going to own your car or truck. You're never going to own your home. You're never going to own whatever it is that you borrowed money at the time from a lender. You get to the point where you are so under such a heavy debt burden that you have absolutely cut yourself off from the ability to function in the real world. So no different than any of us looking at what it is we make each year and saying, you know what, I think I'll just spend even more than that I'm bringing in because the bank will lend me the money. And that's okay until the day the wolf comes to the door and says, you know what, no more money. You got to pay up on this, or turn over the keys to the house, turn over the keys to the car, lock the business down, because now you're out of business. Your debt has exceeded your ability to pay it back. So I like to talk to people in real simple terms. You never want to get to that point where you have so much negative, you have no equity at all. Everything's negative. You can't function.
Well, Lord knows if anybody needs anything broken down into simple terms, it's this guy. So, Congressman Mike Kelly, I appreciate you giving us some time and breaking it down for us tonight.
Hey, Jesse, thank you. Thanks for what you're doing. We can win this battle, but we have to use our heads. And there was an old saying, you got to play through the whistle. You don't quit. You just keep going and going and going. And I think we have to take it a step further. Play through the echo of the whistle. Never come off. If you're a lineman blocking, you never want to come off that block until you hear the whistle. More importantly, don't come off until you hear the echo of the whistle, because you never know if that back needs a little more room to squirm through. So, in the business we're in right now, we all got to play it through the whistle.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Hey, thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, go ahead and like and subscribe. You heard me. Like it, subscribe. You'll get a lot more of it and a lot more of me.